Okay, here we are on April the 3rd in the year of our Lord 2026, and I've got a lot of great information for you tonight. Let me click on Mertech on Rumble, take you over here to my Rumble channel. Here we are, episode 1876. It says upcoming, but as you know, you are actually watching it, so let me click on this and close out the live chat. And see, it is live. I told you, na boo boo. Okay, let me slide down here and click the Show More button and expand out the description box. And we have information from Dan Bongino, Glenn Beck, uh, the Steve Gruber Show, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I do have some shout-outs to give from Julie O, Absolutely Fab, just started following my channel. I believe you. Troy Kylon 1 just started following my channel. 12 12 B band design just started following my channel. Julia Ray Jones 17 just started following my channel. Marshally 13 just started following my channel. Evie Grooney just started following my channel, and Woodburn 3 just started following my channel. Alrighty. Thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. Alright. Julio Absolutely Fab commented on my daily news wrap-up last night. Debbie BS reposted my episode 1875. Debbie BS and Cottonball 13 commented on my episode 1875. Troy Kylon 1, Debbie BS commented on my extra 657A. Debbie BS commented on my extra 657B. And 17 Allen, or is that Alien? Allen? Debbie BS commented on my extra 657C. So thank you very much, folks, for your comments and reposting my video. I certainly appreciate that, and I definitely enjoy reading your feedback. So let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There we go. And if you could give me a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate that. Okay. Well, let's see what Dan Bongino has to say in Shake Up at DOJ. Yes, we've heard about Pam Bondi. At least I've talked about it. Here we go.
DOJ. I want to address a couple of points here. A couple of points I want to address. I want to start with one, the spreadsheets approach to life that I highly recommend for you. What I recommend you do when analyzing anything in politics is don't do what the left does and fall in love with personalities. I can't say this enough. By the way, me included, I did not expect to be judged on anything other than results. I gave you the results. I'm not going to give them again. I gave them on the first show. You can back and listen. I think the biggest mistake people in politics make is they over-explain themselves all the time. You either believe the results mattered and they were good, or you don't. This is how much I'm going to convince you otherwise. The DOJ, the FBI is a component of the DOJ. However, the DOJ has, as you know, many other components as well. ATF, DEA, BOP, others. So they're managing a big operation, including the FBI. We have to look at this in terms of spreadsheets when it comes to politicians. The left just falls in love. They fall in love with Barack Obama, with Bill Clinton. At one point, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And look what happened. It all fell apart. They fell in love with Mamdani in New York. It's always fallen apart because they fall in love with personalities. We should never do that. We should just look at a series of results, numbers, data, inputs, and produce an output. I saw a lot of commentary. I obviously worked with Pam for the last year, Attorney General Bondi for the last year. Folks, listen, it's not a secret. We didn't see eye to eye on every single thing. That's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. People disagree about stuff in Washington, D.C. all the time. About everything. What do you want? You wanted a cadre of robots in your administration? Yeah, man. They all just agree approvingly to everything you say. It's not a big deal. We had some disagreements on some stuff. It turned into something big news story over a weekend in July. But I'm going to tell you something. When you look at the results of this Department of Justice over the last year, just the pure numbers. I just wrote a couple of notes down. And by the way, this is not the complete list. These are just some highlights of some of the things that actually happened. I'm not telling you what opinion to have or not on Attorney General Bongino. I'm the numbers. You put it into your spreadsheet and then produce your own output. I'm not here to tell you how to think. The crime rate, one of the lowest in U.S. history. If you're running the Department of Justice and the crime rate is the lowest in U.S. history, then I think that tautologically sounds like you did the justice thing. The murder rate, lowest ever in U.S. history. Sounds kind of justice-y to me. The first Antifa prosecutions for their terrorist acts on U.S. soil we've ever seen. Again, this stuff just happened. I mean, it's not disputable. You can dispute. I'm not telling you how to think, but these things happen. The violent crimes against children arrests, what we call VCAC in the FBI. We ran two huge operations where we rounded up hundreds and thousands of child predators. You can look them up, by the way. Please don't take my word for it. I'm not ever going to ask you that. Fact check everything. That's how comfortable I am in telling you. These things happen. The operations were called Restoring Justice and Enduring Justice. I personally worked with her and the DAG, Todd Blanche, who's now the acting AG, on those. Hundreds of child predators locked up. Hundreds of children saved. These things happen. Would you rather have them released? Not out. I don't. I'm just giving you like the justice-y stuff that happened. All right, I'm being a bit of a smartass about justice-y, but you get the point. The counterintelligence arrests against Chinese spies were through the roof. They were up by double digits. A lot of these people had been in the country with suspicious Chinese Communist Party connections, bringing in agricultural poisons, things that could potentially be used as bioweapons. A lot of them were just sitting there in universities. The Biden administration was basically sitting around watching porn all day, doing nothing. Those arrests were up double digits. The terror disruptions, that bombing plot in Los Angeles, that cell that got taken down, that's the operation in Detroit, that cell that got taken down. The Comey arrests, the Comey indictment. Well, the judge, that's the judge is part of a separate branch of government, not in the executive. The Bolton arrest, the Letitia James indictment. Here's some others you may have forgot about. The governor of New York, her staffer, that arrest. The Gavin Newsom chief of staff prosecution going on. The New Orleans mayor, the McCormick, the congresswoman, from Florida. These were all, public corruption cases that happened in just the last year. What value you put on those is your call. I'm not here to tell you how to think. I'm just here to give you information free of a lot of the bullshit out there. Again, folks, there's no secret that, we had some disagreements on stuff. I'm just a small piece of that puzzle. This is not a catastrophe in Washington, D.C. Now, that's just a small sliver of what happened. But my personal feelings are that the biggest thing we did when it was summer heat, the violent crime initiative where we refocused the FBI, we worked with her and Todd on that to get the FBI more focused on violent criminals and to get them into local police departments clearing warrants. That had never been done before. That happened too in the last year under her DOJ. Folks, I'm going to tell you this too, and there's things I obviously can't talk about, and that's fine. That's the way it should be. I did not leave the administration like some others to become some anti-Trump asshole on the podcast circuit, making things up all the time. That's not what I do. You don't entrust me with a job and then I leave and then go shit all over everyone like I'm some kind of knight in shining armor. I'm not. I'm a guy who worked in the administration in a great job, an important job. I had the best experience of my life, and I was honored to be there. But if you're waiting for me to come out here and start shitting all over everyone, oh, look at me, I was so much better than everyone else, you got the wrong guy. But I am going to tell you this, that even for the nothing is happening crowd, which we'll address later, who are also the hidden knowledge people, amazing how they keep telling you nothing's happening. As it continues to happen, there is more stuff coming. I know, because I was involved in a lot of it. And when it happens, again, the nothing is happening people are just going to move on to another nothing is happening thing. However, the president does get to pick who he wants inside. If he was unhappy with some things, he elected, not me, not Pam, not Cash, not Todd, not Christie, not Tulsi, Lutnick, no one. The president got elected, and he's allowed to pick the people he wants to work with going forward. However, they left friendly. The president, you think the president, you guys kind of like have a good flavor for the president being in conservative politics. You guys in the audience, do you really think if the president was pissed, he wouldn't say it? No, he's definitely holding back. He holds back a lot, right, Andrew? President's kind of very like, he never tells you how he really feels. That's it. Andrew said it right. He definitely keeps his cards tight. It's like, hey, you did a great job. Moving on. Pam Bondi's a great American patriot, loyal friend who faithfully serves my attorney general over the past year, did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across the country. I wasn't even part of the show, but there's this Truth Social. If it was such a catastrophe, he'd tell you. However, again, I want to be clear-eyed about this too. Folks, I want to level set expectations with the audience, having experienced it on the inside. Working in the Justice Department, whether at the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, or at the Department of Justice itself, the justice system is contingent on variables the Justice Department doesn't control. We are not, and this is not a knock at all, I love our military, we're not the Department of War. The Department of War can make executive decisions from the commander-in-chief. He can make those decisions and have them implemented immediately. There's no judge that's going to restrain them on some foreign theater combat operation. Or they may try, but it's not going to work. The Department of Justice is dealing with variables completely out of their control, which is a separate branch of government, the judicial branch. If you have judges and grand jurors who want to nullify cases, and you have United States attorneys who were Biden-Obama loyalists who quit, it's not that easy. It's not an excuse, folks. It's just an explanation. We're interested in information, correct? It is not that easy to just go out and bring in lawyers like it would be to say, bring in a new person at a checkout counter in a supermarket. These are issues that are going to be ongoing no matter who takes that spot. I want to discuss some ups and downs of some potential replacements as well. People I've had experience with, it's not my choice. It's the president's choice. So it doesn't really matter what I think. However, I do know a lot of these people, and I think a lot of these folks would be a really good choice. So I'll give you those in a second, but I just want to make sure you don't leave the show without these two things in your head. These are the two issues that are going to remain going forward. Not that they can't be fixed, but I'm telling you they're going to take time. First, I just mentioned is the U.S. attorneys. The attorney general, whoever it is not on the ground prosecuting cases. It doesn't happen. The United States attorney for that specific district, whether it's EDNY, Eastern District of New York, Southern District of New York, District of Maryland, whatever it may be, the U.S. attorney in that district works for the attorney general and the DAG. And then that U.S. attorney has an assistant U.S. attorney who's going to prosecute those ground cases. You have to get all those people hired. You got to get those people through the Senate. You got to get those people vetted. It's taking a long time because a lot of former Democrat loyalists quit. Not an excuse, just an explanation. You do with that what you want. You can make a case, fair enough. Hey, maybe it should have happened faster. Fine, fair enough. Valid criticism. That is going to continue going forward. That problem. We got to get people in the door to prosecute these cases. The second problem is a continued issue with this jury nullification, especially in liberal areas of the country. I talk about it, semi-jokingly, but it's not funny. That idiot who threw the Subway sandwich at the police officer in D.C. or the agent, it was on camera. Grand jury was like, nah, we're not going to indict. I mean, it makes a joke if you can indict a ham sandwich, just not in liberal areas where you can't indict anyone for anything. That is out of their control. The DOJ can't force indict someone. That's to go through a grand jury. They can draw up a complaint, they can draw up an information, but when you go to a grand jury with an indictment, you need a true bill from the grand jurors. If they just say, it doesn't matter, it's from a Republican appointed AG, we're not going to indict anyone, then that's how the system works.
All right. That's how the system works, and we need to change that system. And we're not getting any help from John Thune, I can tell you that right now. That cork biter. Let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Dan Bongino Show. I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Alrighty then. Let's jump back here and do a little chatting here with Susie Poll 2016 and Debbie BS. Anybody else want to chat with me? Feel free to do so. I need the chatters, incidentally. I need some chatters. Chat, chat, chat. All right, Glenn Beck. Glenn can't take the Supreme Court's insane birthright citizenship debate. Yeah, I think I agree with him there. Let's see what he has to say.
In watching the Supreme Court yesterday and some of their brilliant arguments, I appreciate, as a humanitarian, I appreciate that we hire the handicapped. I just don't think we should hire them for that job. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I got wallet, go to Japan. The Japanese people have a contract with me to find my wallet. Oh my gosh. I mean, even when the liberal justices are like, oh God, can somebody shut her up? That's a problem. That is a deep, deep problem.
Who is her?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
What are you saying?
Is it?
Are you what?
Sotomayor?
No.
Kagan?
No.
Okay, it's the other one.
No. What are you saying? Are you? Oh, wow. I didn't imply any of what she was just implying. I got a wallet. I'm going to Japan. I don't know what happened. Why am I in Japan all of a sudden? Maybe I was there for a sex spot. I don't know.
You also sound like the media yesterday, who were super, super concerned about President Trump sitting in. He was there to threaten the justices.
Oh, my gosh. And they were so threatened by him. Oh, they were so threatened by him. Oh, God. Would you all just shut your pie hole? Can we actually talk? Can we stop making everything about politics? Can we, please? When I say a Supreme Court justice might be mentally deficient, that's not. I'm not saying that because she's a liberal. I'm saying because I think a box of shoelaces may be able to have more compute power than she has. Let's talk about Constitution. Have you ever read it? For the love of God, have you ever read it? And don't even get me started on Roberts. What the hell was Justice Roberts saying? Oh, the Constitution is historic, and it doesn't live in the now necessarily, but it doesn't necessarily not live in the now. Oh, what are you talking about? You're making my head hurt. Why do we have birthright citizenship? Why? Why did they write that? Why did they write that? They wrote that at a time when people are like, yeah, the slaves might have been born here. Slaves might have been born here, but that doesn't make them American. And so what was that written for? That was to say, yes, slaves are American. Do you know why that had to be done? Because the stupid Supreme Court had just a few years earlier said no slave can ever be a citizen. No slave can ever be a citizen. That wasn't right. What are you talking about? And so we had to make sure that they had the right. It was not, is the Constitution a suicide pact? I just want to know. Is the Constitution a suicide pact? Because then I understand birthright citizenship. Then I understand it. If you can have people come in from China, a sworn enemy, and just have babies and then raise them in China and then bring them over here when they're of voting age so they can vote in our elections, that's a suicide pact. Okay? There's got to be some common sense. You know what? All of our children, all of our 18,000 children were born here, and we all believe in Sharia law. We've hated this country from the very beginning. We came over here so we could have our 18,000 children because we knew that when they grow up, they're going to be able to change the course of this country by voting for Sharia law. That's not what that was for. That's not what that was for. You have to apply some common sense occasionally. But why would we expect that? Honestly, why would we expect that from anybody on the left? And that's not a political comment. I don't think there's a lot of common sense. No, there's some common sense. They're just so stupid and so self-centered. They won't even recognize the world we're living in today. That's the GOP, okay? This one on the left, there's no common sense there unless your common sense is let's destroy America. If that's the thing that unites you, then they're with that plan. Let's destroy America. And then that's the leadership. And then they've taken control of our educational system and our media to take the average person and just put him to sleep. Absolutely put him to sleep. So you'll actually sit there at home and you'll listen to somebody say, and I went to Japan and I got wallet. You listen to that and go, you know what? She makes a good point. No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. If that was somebody on our side, would you accept that as a good, valid point? No, you wouldn't. And you know what? If they were on my side and they were like, and I got wallet, I would be saying, this person is a moron. How to be so blind to what is going? Am I alone? Jason, Ricky, am I alone in this? Here?
No, and actually, the Daily Wire has an op-ed today that says that Ketanji Brown Jackson needs to be impeached.
She should be.
How does that process work, and has it ever happened?
I'm out of my depth. I do not know. But I could go on the air and say, but if I had a wallet, I would know all of the answers. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. There have been many Supreme Court justices that should have been impeached just based on, for instance, a slave can never be a U.S. citizen. I can't remember the case, and it's such a very important one. Everybody else knows the case that came from. It was a Dred Scott. Okay, that for the love of Pete, that was an abomination back then. It's an abomination today, and we all know it. And in the dead of night, I can wake up anybody. If I could get them and wake them out of their political sleep to where everybody just kind of is walking in this sleep, and then it's like, wait, what side is my side on? What side my team for this time? Okay, my team's for that, then I'm for that too. If I could just wake people up in the middle of the night out of that political sleep and say, hey, should people coming from hostile countries be able to just have babies, have tourists who have babies here in America, then raise them in their hostile nation, and then when they're 20, send them over here to vote? Everybody would say, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. No sense at all. But that's what we're doing. And I'm sorry, but That doesn't fly with me. Is Chip Roy going to be on today, or is he? Did we
We
miss
keep
our
being
window?
told he's 1 minute out. He's 1
Well,
minute
I've got
out.
2 minutes left for him now. So if he's not here in 1 minute, he's going to miss, because as riveting as 1 minute would be with Chip, because it always is, we're going to have to pass on this because we are out of minutes for him. I don't know. Jason, how is this going to end with the Supreme Court? It did not look good for the side of sanity.
Nah, it doesn't look good. And I did a really quick search to see if you can impeach a sitting Supreme Court justice. You can. It's got through typical the House than the Senate, but the only thing I see that is the stipulation is treason, bribery, other high crimes and misdemeanors. I propose to add in another clause to there. Also, after high crimes and misdemeanors, also being dumber than a box of shoelaces. Then I think we might be good here.
I would like to call that the "I got a wallet" clause. How are you impeaching her? We're impeaching her on the "I got a wallet" clause. Chip, we're almost out of time. Let me come to you. Thanks for joining. I know you're wildly busy today. Can you just give us the rundown on the "I've got a wallet in Japan" stuff yesterday? It looks like this Supreme Court is going to go for birthright citizenship, which is suicide.
Well, Glenn, great to be on. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. You're right. I'm on the campaign trails, running for Attorney General across the coast of Texas. So bottom line here is on
you got that in. You got that in. Good for you. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. You got to squeeze it in. So yesterday, I was able to only listen to pieces of it. I read a bunch of the summaries late night when I got back in the hotel room. And yeah, very discouraging about some of the line of questioning about the Chief Justice by Amy Coney Barrett and some others. Look, I remain hopeful that common sense will prevail. I wish the solicitor had been a little bit harder core in fundamental core arguments about the 14th Amendment and the interpretation of it. It is absolutely insane to tell me that under the logical conclusion of, quote, birthright citizenship as it's currently interpreted, that 20 million Chinese communist mothers can come to America tomorrow, deliver 20 million babies, and you have 20 million citizens. That is ridiculous, just facially ridiculous. The 14th Amendment does not stand for that. Subject to jurisdiction thereof was a very understood term at the time, and it was and that whole thing was designed to deal with the issue of obviously the post-slavery universe in which we needed to deal with how we treat those human beings. But it was not meant for everybody under the sun to come to America, have a baby, and become a citizen. And I hope that will prevail. We filed a lot of really good amicus briefs. I led one with my good friend Chuck Cooper. I was proud that my work was cited yesterday in the courtroom when Chief Justice Roberts asked the solicitor, hey, what do you have on this birth tourism stuff? He said, look, 19 congressmen sent a letter. I led that effort along with Tom Tiffany to say, look, birth tourism is a real problem. Here's what we understand is the background and the data on it. And I'm glad that my work was cited. But you know what? That doesn't matter if we don't win. We got to win this stuff. And look, I hope, again, logic will prevail, but we'll just have to wait and see what the court does. But as Attorney General, I'm going to continue to fight, and we'll continue to litigate this issue. If they don't do the right thing, there's more angles to pursue, but it just defies common sense that we would allow that to proceed.
Okay, Chip, I got it. I mean, the whole thing yesterday with Iran, where we're headed on that, while we can't seem to fund DHS, we are not passing, the Save America Act. We are, if we lose the next two elections, the Congress and the Senate, possibly, and the presidential election, everything Donald Trump has done is over because Congress didn't codify any of this stuff. They're bleeding that dry because we keep saying, well, we can just pay him out of the big, beautiful bill. We can just pay him out of that. Well, no, I'm sorry. If we do, then we don't get to do all the other things, and they know that are in the big, beautiful bill. Correct?
This was the fight we had last week where the Senate tried to jam us with a bill that wasn't going to fund Border Patrol and ICE. I find that upset. Those men and women that are defending our country deserve full funding. And yes, I know because we had the foresight to put some money out there in the one big beautiful bill for additional enforcement that we have a backstop, but we shouldn't let that be a crutch to then bleed that dry while Democrats hammer our guys. Look, we have got to deliver on what the president's trying to do and what we said we'd do. So, I know that this morning the Senate unanimous consented and sent that thing back over on the funding side. But what we demanded yesterday, I was on the phone with the White House, I was on the phone with the Speaker, on the phone with senators. What we're demanding is, number one, you're not moving that bill until we get a reconciliation bill done that funds Border Patrol and ICE for the rest of the president's term. So we're going to have that fight out, but we're going to win this fight. We have got to put funding in place to continue to secure the country. We've got to codify the stuff the president's doing. And look, I agree with you, but we're going to get our butts kicked in November. We're going to be in the minority, and the president's not going to be able to do his job if we don't deliver over the next 6 months. Republicans need to wake up right now and say, we got to save the country. Islam is marching across our country. Criminals are on our streets. Our borders still are under assault. We have people in this country who are not supposed to be here, and we've got to deliver. And by the way, on Iran, look, my message on that has been pretty clear. Take out the conventional stuff, the nuclear stuff, but I don't want boots on the ground, and I don't want blank checks. I'm not signing up for, continued conflict. Make sure that we stand up for our interests. I support the president doing that. But I've told my colleagues, do not see this as an excuse to fund the war machine in Washington. And as Attorney General, I'm going to stand up for all of those things in court as a lawyer who's done the job. God bless you, Glenn. Thank you. By the way, this is the week for our Lord and risen Savior, Jesus Christ. God bless you all, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much. ChipRoy.com. ChipRoy.com. We'll find out more about his race as Texas Attorney General. ChipRoy.com.
All right.
Let me
there you have
talk
it,
to you
folks.
here and introduce you to.
Wait a minute. What's going on here?
In watching the Supreme Court yesterday.
Hey, stop. Okay, this video does come from Glenn Beck, and as we all know, then the Supreme Court, they pegged it right. This must have been, he must have recorded this before their actual decision, but I guess you can come over here. Fly over for a weekend vacation, have a baby, and it can be a citizen, collect Social Security, and all that kind of shit. Isn't that nice? Okay. So I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and see what Steve Gruber has to say on who should be allowed to vote with Ava Fortenberry. Okay, let's check it out. See what she has to say.
All right, jumping back into it now. I want to continue the conversation with the SAVE Act. Because there's a movement afoot now to go beyond the SAVE Act. And maybe this is the way to get it done, because obviously John Thune and the Republicans are helpless in moving it forward. It can be done by reconciliation, at least part of it. They won't consider that. It can be done by eliminating the filibuster. Apparently they won't consider that, even though Democrats will make that their first point of order whenever they get control of the United States Senate again, which will happen at some point, I would guess. And so it leaves you and I adrift out here, even though these are 80-20 issues. Having voter ID is an 80% support issue, higher in some places, 85%. And yet you can't get these people to move. So a newly introduced constitutional amendment effort backed by Americans for Citizen Voting aims to go further than the SAVE Act by permanently enshrining in the Constitution that only U.S. citizens can vote in federal elections, while the SAVE Act focuses on requiring proof of citizenship at the registration level. This amendment seeks to eliminate any legal ambiguity by making citizenship a constitutional requirement. Can you imagine going back to the Founding Fathers and realizing they could have done this, but they didn't ever foresee a situation where anyone but a citizen would vote? I mean, you've got cities like New York that allow non-citizens, illegal aliens, to vote in municipal elections. It's like 800,000 non-citizen voters in the state of New York. It is absolutely a reprehensible situation. It is a situation that, I wouldn't accept quietly. Neither should America. And Democrats will sit there, you're going to disenfranchise people of color.
She's on hold.
Women that get married can't vote. Well, come on. That's just ridiculous. Joining me is Avi Fortenberry to talk more about this, Americans for Citizen Voting. Avi, welcome to the program.
Hey, how are you?
I am well. So the SAVE Act, you say, is a nice step, but you want to take this. Say that again?
We lost our guest. She just dropped.
All right. Well, we'll see if she hooks right back up. Avi Fortenberry is the president of Americans Citizen Voting, because they want to enact this into a constitutional amendment, which, look, I think that's a pretty good idea. And I've always been somebody who's been leery of a constitutional convention, but if we can get some of these things done that way, an Article 5 convention of states, I'm all in now. Because you see, these problems can't be fixed by John Thune or Mitch McConnell or anybody else, apparently. So it's up to us, the people, before it's too late to fix the problem.
She's back, Steve.
Avi, welcome back to the program. So you want to enshrine this American citizens only voting in elections. Tell me how it would work.
Well, many Americans are actually operating under the false assumption that only U.S. citizens are allowed to vote, but this isn't true. So the reality is the Constitution doesn't independently define who can vote in federal elections. It actually defers to the states. And you can check this out yourself in Article 1, Section 2, and in the 17th Amendment. So what we're trying to do is create a hard national rule that states that only citizens can vote federally.
Yeah, the 17th Amendment, the worst of all amendments, because it took away the state's ability to choose its own senators and put it up to a popular vote. You know, if the 17th Amendment were in place right now, you'd have something like 56 or 58 Republicans in the Senate, and you'd have some real power, some ability to get some things done, but we're not there. And we can't revisit that. So what's the process to get an amendment into the Constitution, the path you're following?
The process right now is that we have a bill called House Joint Resolution 152, and it's going to go to Congress. So we're going to need 2/3 majority vote in the House and 2/3 majority vote in the Senate, and then it would move to a popular vote. But what's really great about this, Steve, is the fact that we have 90-10 support. And I'm talking across political parties. So this is a bipartisan issue. And in fact, a lot of naturalized citizens, myself being one of them, are in major favor of this as well. So unanimous support across the board. And I can absolutely see this as being something that will unite both parties.
Now that shocks me. I'm not going to kid you. We can't get 2/3 of a vote of support for lunch in the United States Congress right now. But you think you could get the votes, because my guess is Democrats would say, yeah, until it was time to vote, and then they would vote it down. But maybe I'm a pessimist. You tell me.
Well, I think it really comes down to what the people want. And so, again, the American people are operating under this false assumption. So as we have been informing people and letting them know that, hey, this not only can happen, but it is happening. In fact, Washington, D.C. is one of the cities that has allowed non-citizens to vote. That is a huge problem. And I feel like the American people have recognized and realized that this is an issue, and they're willing and wanting to step up and make a change.
And you think their Democrat members of Congress would actually listen to what they say? Because, look, Americans want the border closed. Democrats oppose that. Americans want only men competing in women's sports. Americans and Democrats oppose that. 85% want voter ID and only citizens voting. And yet Democrats on Capitol Hill, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and all the rest oppose this. Last word to you.
Last word is that, again, this is a nonpartisan issue. We have had support from both Democrats and Republicans on this, because all it's attempting to do is to protect our country. It has nothing to do with voter ID. It has nothing to do with red tape. All it has to do with is ensuring that the Constitution reads as the American people have already assumed it does.
Yeah, which it should, but they couldn't foresee a political party cheating and manipulating the way we see the modern left playing games every single day. Avi, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate it.
Greatly appreciate you. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to check in on Brock. He's got an update on sports like he does every day right here on the...
All right, there we go. Let me click on the Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from the Steve Gruber Show. I'm sharing his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. And Johnny Tremblay just gave me a chat. Thank you very much, Johnny. Let me jump over here and show you why the chats are so important to me. Okay, this is my creator program, and these are the requirements that Rumble has set for me. And when I meet these requirements, they will promote this information out to more people. I will actually get my channel promoted. And by doing this, then the truth becomes available to more people, because that's what I share here, folks. No nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. Okay, hours streamed from Rumble. This is the third day of the month, okay? 30 hours, I've got 32 hours. I've streamed 32 hours already this month, okay? Let's jump down here. Rumble Premium hours, I need 5. I've got 6.5. Hours watched this month, my requirement is 200. I've got 510. Okay, total unique raids, 5 is my requirement. I've got 9. Okay, chats, total unique chats, that's new people chatting, which would be Johnny Tremblay 1. Hey, he's a new chatter. So this number here says I've got 13 and I need 20. Let me refresh this screen here. Do a quick refresh on this. Yep, there's 14, so it counted John. If you're out there, look, folks, I've got 30 people watching. If I can get just half of you that haven't chatted with me this month to just put in a thumbs up or a hi or get off the pot or whatever, that would be great. Okay, I want to move on here to share some information. Let me jump back over here. But I love my, all right, friends. Okay, all right. Let me close that out, and down here, share some information with from Wendy Bell. But before we jump into that, I do want to share some information from MeWe. Okay? We can just...
Ever feel like the phone is eavesdropping? That's because big tech treats every user's life like a corporate paycheck.
It's time to stop being the product. Millions are making the move to MeWe, the place where private connections and online communities actually thrive.
On MeWe, privacy is a human right, not a hidden setting. They don't track users, they don't sell personal data, and they truly believe in free speech. No shadow bans, just real conversations.
Join the 21 million people taking their digital lives back. Use code WELCOME2026 at checkout to grab 20% off MeWe Premium.
You know, the news today is it is an aggravating menagerie of predictable progressive suck. That was pretty good. That was out of the thin air I came up with that. But it's true. And I think Brock and I both got very fussy today as we were looking at some of the things coming across our social media feeds. And we're both so tired of the theatrics. Aren't you? I'm tired of the theatrics of our government. Did you see 30 lawmakers, a lion's share of them Republicans, during a government shutdown, where families haven't been paid, where people who live paycheck to paycheck through no fault of their own are the political pawns of a bunch of mental midgets who don't have the ability to get real jobs? And they're all on some trip, some taxpayer-funded junket somewhere. It's like, where are your brains? Where is your reality about optics? I'm so tired of the theatrics. This pretend outrage over things, this flip-flopping of ideas and policies. It's very off-putting. I'm super tired of the theatrics of the white college-educated toxic liberal chick. And I really think that this is the crux of this country's dirty underbelly, this weird, narcissistic, insecure area that a lot of people are in, and they find some kind of virtue or strength in numbers to resist something that they don't realize they've been brainwashed into believing. That Donald Trump is this terrible person, that Republicans are awful, that MAGA extremists. Think about that you could be extreme in your desire to see your beautiful country being made great again. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the left, particularly the do-goodery, the perceived do-goodery of these women on the left, who doing is causing so much harm. And I can't understand where the disconnect is. At what point did they look in the mirror and say, oh my goodness? We had an audio soundbite on the other day of billionaire Thomas Polypedia talking on Katie Miller's podcast, Stephen Miller's wife podcast, about the moment he realized he had been brainwashed. The moment he realized that he had been falling for the diet of garbage news that he had been consuming, because his whole bubble was CNN, the New York Times, maybe a headline from The Economist, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, and he was getting the same negative news until Charlottesville, when President Trump was twisted and his words were taken out of context and things were omitted to make it sound like he was saying neo-Nazis were very fine people. And he said in that moment, he woke up and he's like, wait a minute. The people who are growing up today, my children's ages, right? I've got 5 Generation Z boys, almost 18 all the way up to 26. They have a far different challenge today than you and I had. They're in this odd, fictitious world where clicks on social media or trends or follows or likes or influence is more important than just being a good person and doing the right thing. And doing that right thing because that's how you were raised. And I wonder, how are these boys and girls going to connect? And I want to send this message to the young ladies of the world. I have no experience aside from my own girl. I don't have daughters. I don't know what it's like to be raised in this age right now or to be a parent of a young woman. You know, a boy would much rather see you with no makeup on and see you in comfortable clothes, not worried about your appearance or taking selfies, and go do something fun with you. A boy isn't looking for the same things that you think they're looking for. They're looking for somebody who is honest and funny, someone who has dreams, who is capable, someone who is smart and who dreams, and someone inside who is kind and who is good. None of that involves social media. None of that involves what clothing you wear, what you do to your hair, how much makeup you have on, or how many people follow you. It's something uniquely you. The young men of this world are looking for, in their own ways, their own path, because they're keenly aware of the fact that they need to be able to provide for ultimately a young woman, because let's be real, the American dream does, in fact, after all, involve finding someone you love, settling down and creating life. And it's hard. Or coming out of college with debt, maybe not a whole lot of practical experience, but the heart is there. Look at the young men today, girls. Most of these young men aren't big drinkers. They're not huge partiers. And have you followed the trends? They're going to church. Why? Maybe because faith is the one thing that's not up for grabs. At least it shouldn't be. You were made by God to do what you do and to continue this great experiment called life. But if the boys and girls of this world don't put aside their phones, don't stop worrying about what everybody else thinks, because everybody else is just as insecure as they, I don't know how this great experiment continues. For the young couples out there, young people thinking about it, it's hard. It's never the right time to have a baby. It's never the right time to change jobs. It's never the right time to buy a house. There's never enough money. There's never enough time. There's never enough understanding. And so what you have to have is a deep, deep friendship. and it must involve trust. Where are you getting that today? You're not getting it from your teachers. Sure as hell not getting it from your politicians. And any liberal chick out there who's squawking at some protest about something she obviously knows nothing about is illustrative of the bigger problem here. We have so drifted away from our God-given intent. And I take particular umbrage with the white toxic college-educated liberal girls, because they've muddied everything. They've sullied all of the traditions, all of the norms, from a gentleman opening your car door, right, to the idea that indeed only a woman and her uterus that can give life. There is a huge reckoning coming. And unless America's young people can figure out how to disconnect from the pollution that has groomed them and shaped them and treated them like lab rats, I don't know how this whole cycle continues. But I am ever hopeful. If you are like I am, and you look at your children the way I do, you've made every decision and all the sacrifices you've made, so that somewhere down the line, there's a young partner who's the perfect fit. Keep at it, kids. It ain't easy, but it is worth the ride. Today's show, when we come back, we got to talk about some stuff. First of all, Jennifer Newsom is a blithering idiot. So we're gonna end the show with her, and that is worth hanging out for. But when we come back, what is this? Tulsi Gabbard could be out for Pam Bondi to take her spot as the Director of National Intelligence. For real? Well, we'll find out what the White House says next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
Okay, let's get it up here past their commercial break here, about the 22-minute mark.
So it's not...
Here we go. Enjoy.
So the Gateway Pundit has this kind of interesting story. We heard these grumblings yesterday. Now, I agree with you. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. It's kind of hard to know whom to trust. Yesterday, we were going to have a segment before the news broke that Pam Bondi had been moved aside as Attorney General. And it was the story breaking from the New York Times with hearsay, people close to the matter, people were in on the conversation, but had to talk because of anonymity. And then CNN ran with it. Caitlin Collins put it out, and Brock and I are looking at each other saying, I don't know who to believe anymore. Like, who doesn't leak? Everybody's leaking. What's true, what's not. It came out as true. So then when we heard this, I was like, wait, what? Pam Bondi replacing Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence? Well, the White House quickly comes out. They've debunked this fake news report. Left-wing outlet The Guardian. See, this is back to the monologue where I say this toxic fakeness. Just tell us the truth. Stop it with the hyperbole, the suggestion, the innuendo, the rumors. Let's stop playing telephone, right? Can we get back to telling the truth? Well, The Guardian pushed a shaky narrative suggesting the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, could be on the chopping block, but the White House wasted no time obliterating that report. Wasn't the White House also quick to say that Pam Bondi's loved? She's not going anywhere. Didn't they do that too? I remember that yesterday.
Multiple times.
And all of a sudden, like, well, yeah, it's true. It's like, gosh, I'm so tired of being on the political yo-yo. According to The Guardian, Trump had already allegedly been considering whether to fire Gabbard, citing anonymous sources who claimed the president was frustrated over her handling of the former National Counterterrorism Senator Joe Kent. He's been kind of a pain in the neck, saying, oh, there was no rationale for confronting Iran, even though you and I have gone over it ad nauseum. How many times do they have to give you the details? This is our mission. This is what we've done. This is when we're leaving. White House spokesman Stephen issued a bleaching statement to the press. Any insinuation of totally fake news. The president has assembled the most talented and impactful cabinet ever, and they have collectively delivered historic victories on behalf of the American people. Okay. So now that that's allegedly settled, What has Pam Bondi had to say after her removal, demotion, shuffling, whatever it is, because whatever this exciting private sector job is, it's really not, right? So she writes this. This is her tweet after she gets demoted. She says, over the next month, I will be working tirelessly to transition the office of Attorney General to the amazing Todd Blanche before moving to an important private sector role I'm thrilled about, and where I will continue fighting for President Trump and this administration. You know, I'm not in her shoes, and God bless everybody who moves on into a new chapter. But wouldn't you have loved to hear something more honest? Dear America, I've given you a lot. I've worked really, really hard, and I have not done as much as this president wants. He wants to go in a different direction. I find that devastating, but I get it. He's the boss, and I respect him immensely, right? I should have handled the whole Epstein thing way differently. I got all hot and bothered over, oh, we're going to release everything, and I really just laid a giant egg. However, we have told you the truth. We have done an exemplary job. And if there's anything for this president I can do in the future, I will answer the phone on the first ring. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America. Right? I should do this for a living. Okay, yeah, she doesn't say that. She says, leading President Trump's historic and highly successful efforts to make America safer and more secure has been the honor of a lifetime. There she goes. And easily the most consequential first year of the Department of Justice in American history. Since February 2025, we have secured the lowest murder rate in 125 years. And she's right, that needs to be celebrated. We've secured first ever terrorism convictions against members of Antifa, shattered domestic and transnational gangs across the country, taken custody of more than 90 key cartel figures, and won 24 favorable rulings at the Supreme Court. I remain eternally grateful for the trust that President Trump placed in me to make America safe again. Okay. So whatever she ends up going to do, and however this Todd Blanche guy is going to be filling in. Now, you know him. If you followed any of the stuff when they were trying desperately to indict and criminally charge then candidate Trump out of the presidential race in 2024, you saw Todd Blanche walking out of whatever courtroom it was. And down the hallway, there was always Eric Trump standing in the back. He was there every single day, right? Always next to the president was Todd Blanche. Now, he is going to be the acting attorney general. Is he going to be the guy who is going to be confirmed by the Senate? How does that work? I don't know. I kind of get a vibe that he is kind of a placeholder, that they need to get somebody that the Senate is going to approve. I'm not so sure the president's personal defense attorney in a couple of these cases is going to be the guy that the Senate is going to kumbaya behind to be like, yeah. And I don't know about him. So this is a very interesting segment coming up. And I think Jesse Waters did a really fantastic job last night on his program Primetime. So he's sitting there in a double, but he's got the box. He's on one side and there's Todd Blanche on the other. And they obviously know each other. They were talking all last several years during Trump's many legal debates. But he asks him a series of questions, and I need you to hear if you're listening on the radio. But I also need you to watch if you're watching the live stream on wendybellradio.com. I want you to watch the acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, respond to point-blank questions from Jesse Waters about Jeffrey Epstein, about Pam Bondi's handling of the files, and whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was an agent of a foreign government. Because his answer, Todd Blanche's, makes me go, You get to decide when we come back next, my friends, on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All righty, there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and move on here. Let me click this Rumble link, but I will include this video in my daily news wrap-up so you'll get to see the rest of this.
Okay,
let me click over on the Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I'm following her channel. I'm sharing her information. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here. And yeah, that's good. John Thrimble. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy these chats into, oops, hang on. Let me get this all copied in here. Copy the live chats into a comment because I think it's an important part of this video. All right, there we go. Let me clean it up just a little bit here. There we are. Now it's permanent because as we know, when the live stream is over, the live chats just kind of disappear. But these videos that I've shared with you folks are videos that come directly from the producer's channel. Okay, I've got the links to the videos here in the description box, the links to the producer's channel in the description box. I'm not trying to take anything from anybody. I'm just sharing this information out. And these videos that I've shared with you tonight are videos that I've posted on Mertech.com, where I have over 40 no-nonsense, common-sense, logic, and truth videos. The link to Mertech.com is in the description box as well. It's a free site. I don't ask for your name. I don't ask for your email address. I don't drop cookies on your computers. I don't have a bunch of ads popping up in your face. No nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. The kind of information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. Now, I'd like to share all these videos with you, but unfortunately, I don't have the time. That's why I've put together my Mertech Daily News Wrap-Up. Right here's the Wendy Bell Radio program that we just ended, or just broke away from. We're going to finish that up. Also from Dan Bongino, I got some great information here from the Y-Files. What nobody tells you about death. The living feel it too. All right. Well, that's very... The Y-Files, that's not necessarily political or no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth, but it's very interesting. I've followed them for a long time, and I think it's just great information. I wanted to share it with you. Okay, information from Benny Johnson, We the People News, X22 report. Okay, it says I have 21 videos in here, about 10 or 11 hours worth of great information. But give me some time here to set it up in Rumble Studio, about 15 or 20 minutes. So go ahead and take a break, grab a donut and a cup of coffee, or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer, or a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll get this going for you. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.